And I kid you not, 2 minutes before the IC meeting, while I'm waiting in a room just outside the big meeting room, I get a term sheet from that fund in that morning. They somehow had realized I was having an IC meeting, and they sent me a term sheet literally 2 minutes before.
So today we're talking to Liam Fuller from Source. Welcome, Liam.
Hi.
So from doing sales calls in your school bathroom to building a Shopify app that went viral, that was commented on by the CEO of Shopify, to pitching a VC when you were visiting your granny in Australia, and closing that VC, raising $4 million, and having some incredible angels. You've had quite a 18 months. And you're still only 17.
Good.
So today we want to talk about all of that, how it all came about, what you're working on, and where it's going. But let's go all the way back, right? So you've been building for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, what's the first thing you built that you were like proud of and felt good about?
So I think I'm going to go back a very long time and maybe go back to like the early stage of my childhood, right? So kind of I lived in like a pretty entrepreneurial household. Like I lived with two businesses within my household. My dad, who was the third employee at quite a large growing enterprise grade software business. And my mum, who's working on her own small business at the same time. So it's pretty chaotic. So it's like from a very young age, I was kind of like, I don't know what these things are, but I want to do something like that. So I remember when I was like 7, I found a YouTube video about how to make these like duct tape wallets online.
Like a physical wallet?
Yeah, like a physical wallet made out of duct tape. And I made one. Marched into school the next day, primary school, probably 7 or 8 years old.
Okay.
Went to everyone around my class and said, hey, you need to buy this wallet.
You need to buy it.
You need to buy it right now. And a few people bought it. And that was like the first, like, oh my God.
That was your first few quid?
I was like, yeah, I made, I think I made a couple $100 off it.
Oh, wow.
Which is not bad for like 8.
Yeah. How much was each wallet?
$5.
$5.
So
okay.
did some pretty good scaling there. And that was like the first step. So like, that's all the way back. Obviously, I've gone on to build software businesses.
Yeah.
Tried to do different projects over the years, but that was like the first of them.
When did you start getting, like, how did you first getting into the world of like startups, or did you were you hanging out with a friend, or what happened?
Good question. I think for me, it kind of, for a couple of years there, I tried to do a few businesses in primary school, and then I went into secondary school, and the first thing I started doing was playing basketball and playing sports, like a normal 12 or 13-year-old. But what ended up happening is I met every day on the bus to school, so you'd have to go to a basketball court after school and play basketball. I had a friend there I met who was actually probably like 3 or 4 years older than me on the bus every day. So I basically had 2 hours to talk with this guy. And he started explaining to me what a startup was.
Okay.
He started explaining what the young scientist was.
Right.
And through those conversations over the course of maybe about a year, from like 13 to 14, he had told me about all these things I didn't know were possible. I kind of loosely knew about it. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but I definitely want to do that. So yeah, it came from just conversations with one of my friends on the bus.
At the back of the bus,
yeah,
an hour each way. Learning about startups. So what was the thing, like, is that what you mentioned young scientists there? Is that what got you into that?
Yeah. I saw that one of my friends, he'd done the young scientist.
Yeah.
He had really enjoyed it. I'd never really done a science project before or anything like that. So I came up with the genius idea of I'm going to build a robotic arm.
A robotic arm?
A robotic arm.
Okay.
Turns out that's not the thing you should build with your first science project at like 14 or 15 years old.
14?
14. And so tried to do that. I failed completely miserably at it. Turned up to the young scientist with this broken robot arm that was like half built.
Did it move or like?
A little bit. Debatable, but like that's kind of how.
What did you build it out of?
I built it out of 3D printed material, actually.
Okay.
So I bought a 3D printer,
okay,
started printing all the chassis of it, essentially.
Yeah.
And I just kind of got into that. I was really interested in it. I really enjoyed the project.
And did you have it connected up with some software?
Yeah, I had it connected up with some software. I could move a little bit, but it wasn't great. So that was like a first into doing that.
You didn't win any awards with that one?
No, not that year. Not at all.
What happened after that? How did you end up in Dogpatch?
Funny question. So this same friend who had introduced me to the young scientist, he'd actually done the Patch program.
Okay.
He'd done it, it was quite a few cohorts ago. He told me about this as well, and I was like, okay, I also want to do that. So I, left Young Scientist that year, kind of, put that aside, and was like, all right, time to do the next thing.
Yeah.
So like I applied to Patch.
Okay. And for those of people who might not know what Patch
Sure.
is, like what is Patch and
Yeah.
why was it kind of interesting to you?
For me, it was interesting because it was a youth accelerator program. You told me it was a youth accelerator program for 16 to 21-year-olds in Dublin.
Right.
And the thing is that, okay, you're put in this building, which is Dogpatch, and you're put in a room, you have accommodation, and you're tasked with building something over 6 to 7 weeks. A short time frame, it's quite competitive, and that's kind of what I got told about it. I was like, that sounds pretty cool.
Okay.
Found out more about Patch, applied. I think I was 14 at the time. I actually got a call, I got an interview, and I remember Tom, who's running Patch, was saying,
Tom, the founder of Patch.
Tom, founder of Patch, he was like, Liam, you're pretty young, and I'm like, yeah, I know, and he's like, yeah, your idea isn't great either. So I'm like, you know what, fair enough.
So you were only 14 at the time.
Yeah.
Or you were like, because
yeah.
you were even too young to join Patch technically.
I think I might have been a really, really young applicant for Patch.
Wow.
I don't think they'd considered someone this young applying.
Yeah.
But pretty heartbroken a little bit. I was like,
Okay, that was tough.
that was tough.
So you got to know.
I gotta know. It was like that was probably my first big no I'd gotten.
Oh, really?
Probably in my life.
Yeah.
I built it up pretty big internally. I was like, this is
Did
gonna be
you?
my moment.
Yeah.
And it was a no, and I was like, God damn.
How did you handle that? Did you have to shake it off, or
I played basketball for a while. I kept playing basketball. I kept playing basketball. Realized I wasn't going to the NBA, so I was like, all right, time to get back to building things.
Okay.
And that brought me on to working on a few other side projects and doing the Young Scientist the following year.
How did you get on the second time?
Really well.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from the first time I'd done the Young Scientist program. I kind of. Yeah, that year, instead of building a robotic arm, I decided, okay, maybe I should do something a little bit easier than building hardware. Why don't I try this software thing?
Yeah.
Turns out I really enjoyed building the software. I recruited a classmate called Joseph to help me out with building an AI voice assistant. He basically wanted to make a better version of Alexa that could remember past context and improve itself. And we built that in a couple of weeks. And the key thing that I'd learned between this gap in time period was that, it isn't just about the project. It's about how you present it and how you show the project to the judges and why it matters.
Yeah.
And that was like a big thing because I had got rejected from Patch. I'd spent a couple of months playing basketball, and I forgot to mention, when I got rejected from Patch, I routinely decided, okay, well, if they're not going to let me in now, I'm just going to start just turning up. So you might remember that.
You just started showing up in Dogpatch.
Yeah. Started turning up in Dogpatch.
Just like going to events. Just a 15-year-old coming to the door.
Just arriving to events. That landed me my TY work experiences. I actually got that through one of the companies who were at Dogpatch, and I learned basically, it's about how you pitch and present a project, not just the actual project. And the project was good too.
Yeah.
It was different.
And there was just a sort of like not really taking no for an answer. You're just going to show up anyway and just keep moving.
I mean, I was like, for a little while, I was like, oh man, like that's pretty rough. Like, my life's over. Turns out my life wasn't over. I was just a 14-year-old who decided, he was really persistent and decided, okay, I'm going to do Young Scientists again, and I'm also going to see if I can get into this Patch program too.
So then you applied to Patch again, and you got in the second time.
Yeah, I got in the second time.
How was it like when you got in? I'm just curious because there's like 30, 35 people there. You probably didn't know almost anyone there probably. What was it like just being part of that, just generally?
I think it was an interest. I knew a few people who were doing the program, but again, it was like these were mostly people I've never known before. So I was pretty nervous. I was surprised that on the caliber of talent there. I think, it was great because I immediately kind of clicked to me like these are like some seriously intelligent people, and this is going to be a really interesting 6 to 7 weeks. Like I just kind of felt the vibe was right. And, some of the people I did Patch with, I've gone on now to become like really, really, really close friends with. So the overall experience of that, once I got in, was fantastic. It
was good. So what did you start building then?
Yeah.
Is this when cart share started to happen?
Yeah, it was.
Right.
So I'd gone into Patch. I kind of started a few side projects. I did the Young Scientist as well. And how Patch works is that you go around, you find other people who are willing to work on this project with you, and so I found two lads who were willing to work on an idea with me. We brainstormed a couple ideas. I kind of had a bit of e-com experience because I played around with a few things before, and we identified somewhat of a problem. Anyway, what we ended up building was CartShare. It was a Shopify app that allowed e-commerce retailers, their customers and e-commerce retailers to share their carts with friends and family to make free shipping and get group discounts. The product was...
So if you're trying to buy something,
Yeah.
and there's a huge cost, you can maybe buy more than one and split the cost of delivery. Was that the idea?
Yeah, exactly. Or you can get a discount for joining. So it's like it was essentially a customer acquisition tool, turning group chats into a customer acquisition tool. Really cool idea.
Yeah.
So we started telling people about the idea.
Yeah.
And turns out we're actually able to tell the world about our idea better than the actual retailers about our idea.
It went pretty viral. Like I remember, it went on LinkedIn, and then people started commenting, and one person in particular started commenting.
Yeah, it was. We kind of, we were working on it. I was like, all right, we'll throw out a LinkedIn post about what we're working on.
Yeah.
I remember the title being "Summer as a 17-year-old is about girls and parties," right? And then it was like, wrong. It's about building a Shopify app. Pretty cringe. But it grabbed some attention, and I think that was an interesting thing for us. It was like, oh my god, here's something that can help us properly distribute a product or a service we're offering.
Yeah.
And that's what we went full in on, right? So we had serious marketing throughout the 6 weeks. And we marketed the product so well that one of my co-founders got an internship at Shopify.
Wow.
So it was
And the CEO of Shopify commented on your LinkedIn post, if I remember.
Yep.
That was pretty wild.
It's pretty wild. That was pretty insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good outcome. And so the summer ended.
Yeah, and then you met John Collison at some stage to meet him to tell him about the whole.
I did.
The whole app as well.
John Collison came in. I was lucky enough to pitch him CartShare, which was actually a really interesting experience.
So Patch ends.
Yep.
You're now going into fourth or fifth year, is it?
Yeah,
in school?
Yeah.
So, okay, you've had this entrepreneurial experience and you're back to school.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
That sucked. That was really bad.
Is this where your LinkedIn posts are so funny, by the way? You have this one LinkedIn post of you sitting on the toilet in your school bathroom and taking sales calls.
Yeah.
Was that really going down?
Yes.
Yeah. With CartShare, just keep going.
With CartShare. So what happened is the summer ended, obviously. We got a bit of traction here. We thought this is a business we want to pursue. Co-founders went their other ways, and I went back to secondary school. And that was a huge. I just had this whirlwind of a summer, and now I'm back to classes every day.
Right.
And now I'm back to my teacher taking my laptop off me because I was literally glued to it on LinkedIn trying to book calls with retailers. So how my day consisted of me last year, last September, was every day on break my friends would be asking, where the hell did you go?
Yeah.
And I was in the bathroom either writing emails or answering phone calls.
Yeah.
And that's what I did all day. It wasn't healthy, it wasn't good, but I was just so determined to make this thing work.
Wow.
And yeah, it was real.
Yeah, and you were coming here after school, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I went straight from school, straight to Dogpatch, and then back home around 12.
Just to catch the odd, see who could meet in the halls or...
Yeah, probably.
So then your family goes on a family holiday to Australia, where your granny lives, I think that's...
Yeah, my grandparents.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what most people do is they go to the beach or whatever.
Sure.
But what you ended up doing was what?
Yeah, so this was fast forward maybe 6 months, probably 4 months after I'd kind of been working on CartShare, family holiday. What I decided to do is in the airport on the connection between in Doha airport, I remember sitting down and just whacking out a few cold emails to a few people in Australia. I kind of find it very hard to go to places and not try book a meeting of some sort.
Right.
I was kind of pretty used to doing that.
So you just started cold emailing founders,
funds,
VCs?
founders, just to kind of I'm coming to Australia.
Right.
I'll be here for a little while. I'm working on this. Do you have any introduction for me? And one guy called Mitchell came back to me. He's the only person who came back to me, by the way. And he's like, I think I have someone I should introduce you to. That's kind of how that came along.
So you were working on a new idea at this
Yeah.
at this stage, which is the idea you're now.
Yeah, raise money for, yeah.
So so you sent out just a bunch of cold emails. You didn't know any of these people. You didn't
No.
know anyone in Australia.
Not at all.
You just started chancing your arm. You're like, I'm gonna
not?
I'm gonna exit the family holiday and go pitch a VC. Hopefully. So this one guy gets back to you.
Yep.
And then what happened?
So he messaged me. We meet up for a coffee in Sydney. I think I just arrived in the country, by the way, and I was straight into this meeting with this guy. His name was Brendan. We kind of sit down. I give not the best pitch in the world on what I'm working on right now to Brendan, but he kind of got where I was going. Probably a 30, 40-minute chat. And at the end of the conversation, he's like, yeah, I'll invest. And one of the interesting things about meeting Brendan is that one of the reasons why Brendan responded is that he had also invested in another Liam, also 17, who'd gone on to build an incredibly valuable company based in Australia called Liam Millward. And that was just so interesting.
So he was just like pattern recognition.
Yeah.
Like
It must have been a big reason, yeah.
So for anyone watching, if your name is Liam and you're 17, go pitch this guy, Brendan, in Australia.
He'll love you. I think that's what he's going to keep doing.
He'll give you a meeting.
He will. No, 100%. I guarantee it.
So this guy meets you, he likes you, he decides to write a check.
Yep.
Then what happens?
Well, he invites me, he shows me off to all his friends. He
Right.
goes, hey, I've just invested in this kid. Which is very nice of someone to do,
Yes.
by the way. Like this is like an example of someone I met, and I've met people like this a lot, who kind of take you under their wing a little bit.
Yeah.
And they're like, they recognize what you're trying to do, and they're like, I'm gonna help this kid out. So he introduces me to a bunch of his friends. A bunch of his friends don't really get what I'm doing. They don't really get it, and they understand why. But he invites me to basically like an event with all the angel investors in Sydney the same night as I went to meet him in Sydney as well.
Wow.
So I get introduced to unicorn founders across Australia. I pitch a lot of them during that night. I must have talked to maybe 50 or 60 people. And at the end of it, I probably had like maybe one or two other meetings.
Right.
So yeah, I met up with a few.
So you're getting a couple of no's here, or
like it's not. This isn't like
Yeah.
Like I quickly realized that Brendan wasn't the common investor in Australia. He was an exception.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's fine. Kept trying to get these meetings. I felt like there's some momentum here. Why can't I keep pursuing this?
Yeah.
And got a lot of no's. So we went from like this just like amazing start to like probably a week and a half.
Punched in the face like a lot of times.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I don't want to give you money.
Yeah, you're a nice kid, but yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically. But now I'm determined, right? Like I've proven it can work once. I understood why I had to raise the money. It kind of made sense. And I was pretty persistent.
What happened next? You got in front of one VC, or what exactly?
Yeah, so I got in front of a few VCs. With a lot of those VCs saying no. I remember walking into one of the VC offices in Australia, and it was interesting that they asked me a lot of questions that I really didn't understand. I didn't really get. Very like out there, complex, really like theoretical questions. It kind of really annoyed me. I was like, I want to talk to you about my business. And anyway, they said no. And a couple of their VCs said no as well. So what I decided to do is I decided to like just go back to the cold emailing. So I decided, look, maybe I'm not going to get this investment round done. I wasn't really around at that stage anyway. Let me just send out a few more cold emails to see if I get some advice on the next stages of the company. So I cold emailed a guy called Paul, and Paul is the founder of the first decacorn in Australia called Seek.com, a job-seeking platform in the early 2000s. And I said, Paul, hey, I want some advice. I'm here in Australia. I want your advice on what a seed round looks like. What kind of stage of the company does it have to be at seed? And 10 minutes later, emailed him at like 11 p.m. He responds, okay, let's meet for a coffee. I asked him for a coffee, and he said, sure. So I'm in Newcastle at the moment. My grandparents don't live anywhere near Sydney. It's like 2.5 hours on the train each way.
Right.
So the next morning I wake up like 6 in the morning, get the train all the way down to Sydney, and I meet with Paul for 30 minutes. And that was my only meeting that day, by the way.
Right.
So I met with Paul. I had a chat about what I was doing. He asked a lot of really interesting questions, and he basically like tore my idea apart, but in a really interesting way, trying to understand what I was thinking. And at the end of the conversation, I do my pitch, I asked him to angel invest.
Right.
And he said no.
He said no.
Said no.
Oh man.
Yeah, he was like, I don't do angel investments. And I was like, why? Why don't you do angel investments? He's like, I like to do investments through the fund.
Okay.
I was like, all right, fair enough. So anyway, we hop in an Uber. I had to go to somewhere else in Sydney that day. So Paul was like, oh, we'll just share an Uber and we'll just chat on the way there. I have to go to another meeting. I was like, okay. And then towards the end of the car ride, he asked my phone number and go back 2 hours on the train back to Newcastle, fall asleep, wake up.
Just got punched in the face again.
Got punched in the face again.
Another no.
And what do I see? A message from Paul. Come back down to Sydney. I want to meet again. I think I can help you out with your angel investors.
Wow.
I was like, interesting. So I take the train 2 hours back to Sydney the next day, meet them at the office, and they're basically trying to see, like, let's see if we can get this kid some angel investors. I kind of realized after this is a tactic used by venture funds to really just, VC funds, to really just see.
Scope you out.
Scope me out.
Yeah.
They scope me out.
They're not saying this is a VC meeting. They're like, let's have a friendly chat and see if we can help you.
Let's see.
But really, they were actually just scoping you out.
I had no clue. So I had no clue. So probably an hour meeting. It was really, really, really casual. And then something crazy happens. I stay in Sydney that night. I decide not to take the train back. And I wake up the next morning to another email saying, hey, we want to get you into an IC meeting.
Wow.
And I was like, what's an IC
meeting? What's an IC meeting?
I don't know what that is. And just get you in front of the team. And I was like, what does that mean? So I'm calling some of the other founders here back in Ireland and some of the other patchers as well. Like, what the hell does an IC meeting? Yeah. So I'm panicking now. I'm prepared for it. Anyway, I had a meeting that morning. So the IC meeting's at 5. I have a meeting that morning with one more fund, right? Most of them had said no, but there's one fund that I wanted to have a chat to. I had a really good chat with the fund. And in that meeting, it turns out I met a guy who was really, really in-depth in procurement. He'd actually built a B2B marketplace in the past. And he was a partner at one of these funds. And he gave me my first yes.
Wow.
And so he says, look, I think we can do something. And throughout the day, I wait until the Square Peg meeting. And I'm panicking, right? Because I'm like, this is going to be, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, 2 minutes before the IC meeting, while I'm waiting in a room just outside the big meeting room, I get a term sheet from that fund in that morning.
Wow.
They somehow had realized I was having an IC meeting. And they sent me a term sheet literally 2 minutes before.
So now the VC realizes a competition going on that you're...
I don't know how they figured it out.
Right.
But they figured it out just in time. And I...
the dark ways of VC knowledge in the back channel.
I don't know how they did it.
Somebody figured it out.
And so I pull one of the investors at SquarePeg aside and go, hey, I've got a term sheet here.
Yeah.
And they're like, and he goes in and he's like, what do you think about it? And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, are you going to take it? And I was like, I don't know yet. So anyway, they're like, I see them like running into the room. It's the big meeting's delayed by 10 minutes. Anyway, I go into the IC meeting. I basically black out for about an hour. Don't know what I said, really. Pitch the business, pitch my vision, what I want to do with it. They asked a lot of really, really detailed and complex questions. And at the end of the meeting, I had no clue how it went. And they said, okay, we'll be back to you in 24 hours. And 30 minutes later, I got a phone call offering me $900,000 or $1 million to lead my round.
Wow.
So that was
probably on better terms as well.
Yeah.
We don't need to go into specifics, but so now
it's different.
Now you got 2 term sheets.
Yeah.
You're 17-year-old. You're on your family holiday. You got 2 term sheets. You go get more term sheets. What do you do next?
So that's the question, right? What do you do? So I'd gone from a couple no's. I mean, I'd had by the time I got to these meetings, I had quite a lot of angel investment help from SquarePeg actually, and I got my own angel investors too. So I was in a pretty good position, right? I wasn't going to go home empty-handed. But anyway, I had 2 term sheets on the table, which is a huge deal. And the question is, what do you do? Do you use the term shop? Do you shop around for other VCs and get better terms or better money, or do you go to the US and raise in San Francisco? Like, how do you do this? Or do you just like take the money that you've been offered?
Right.
And that was a big decision.
Yeah, it always is.
For me as well, because I was like, I was like, what if I shop around, they might
and you lose
their offer.
Yeah.
I quickly realized that is not how that works at all. So anyway, I don't shop around too much. Throughout that week, I ended up getting a few more term sheets, and I ended up with a really, really, really competitive round, not for just Australia, but
Yeah.
for like international terms.
But ultimately, you stuck with the square bag, folks.
Because I felt, because like Paul genuinely gave me like a solid moment of his time.
Yeah.
And a lot of these funds who had said no to me just kind of reappeared at the last minute.
Wow.
When Squarepeg had true conviction. So they had conviction in me as a person, they had conviction in what I was building, and they kind of knew the potential upside in investing in me, and they knew that really clearly.
Yeah, that's
and
nice.
I really respected that.
Yeah.
I really, really liked it
Nice.
about them.
And then there's a bunch of interesting angels that you get introduced to, like,
Sure.
I don't know, who are some of your angels? Are you allowed to talk about some
Yeah,
of
of
those?
course. I mean, we had some interesting angels from Australia. Charlie Gearside, he's a unicorn founder of a $1 billion company there in Australia called Eucalyptus.
Some folks in the Valley as well?
Yeah. So after I'd gone to Australia, I decided I was going to go off to San Francisco. I'd never been to San Francisco. Heard very, very good things about it, and I decided, okay, I need to get back to Dublin, so I may as well stop over there. So myself, my dad, leave my grandparents.
Yeah, it's kind of on the way home, you know? See if you go the other way.
I arrived in San Francisco. I was pretty tired after this ridiculous adrenaline rush, but I get introduced by some people like Dogpatch, actually Menno from Dogpatch, to David Singleton,
ex-CTO of Stripe.
Yep, and he ends up investing.
Wow.
And I get a few other interesting intros to other big sons of retail conglomerates and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just
a lot of really interesting angels on your cap table now.
Yeah. There's some interesting ones. It was great.
So you landed back in Dublin.
Yep.
You also just started building. Yeah. Joined the NDRC Accelerator, where there's another patch company going through as well. So let's actually talk about what you're building actually a little bit.
Why not?
So give us what is it that you're trying to solve for?
Yeah, so what I'm building now is kind of coming off the backbone of all those learnings I had on those previous companies, particularly CartShare, right? After doing CartShare and building like an e-commerce Shopify app, I kind of realized that selling in the e-com space is quite saturated, it's quite competitive. And I was actually curious, on these conversations with these retail stores, that 60% of their revenue came from their physical location, and they're only just starting to put on their e-commerce presence. And I was just curious about that, who's selling into retailers, why does that exist? I was curious. So I hopped on a few called up a lot of these old customers who said no to CartShare, some of them said yes. And I asked them, look, what are some of the other problems? Bare bones, doing customer discovery again. So I was already doing this customer discovery before I'd arrived in Australia. I was already doing a lot of this. And I quickly realized something kind of kept coming up recurringly. And it was that the way that these businesses, these physical retail stores were buying their goods was surprisingly different to the way that consumers like myself and you buy goods that we want or use services online.
On Amazon or Shopify.
And the thing is, it wasn't even online. That was the issue.
Right.
I remember one retail store explicitly telling me that they had 1,400 individual suppliers. They had 5 people on the buying team.
Wow.
And
they're doing it on Excel or
Exactly. They're using Excel and an ERP system.
Wow.
And they're spending upwards of $100 million a year on Excel and email. Excel, email, and ERP systems, which I just found shocking. I was just ask a question why don't businesses have the methods or the interfaces to buy their goods that consumers have? I felt like that was wrong. So what I decided to build was Source. Source is a one-click AI procurement tool for SMB retailers, integrating into their email, their ERP, and their Excel spreadsheets, and gives them an easy interface for them to buy all of their goods in a few clicks, forecast what they should buy and what at the right time, give them suggested orders, and make the procurement process a lot more efficient.
Nice.
And empower them to kind of compete against some of the bigger boys like Tesco's.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because the big guys, say if you're a mid or small business boutique grocery shop, right?
Yeah.
you're competing against the Tesco down the road.
Yeah, of course.
And Tesco down the road, they have a system,
course.
presumably, and it's very sophisticated and it's custom built.
Yep.
But everyone else who's trying to be a small business,
What are your options? Or like your options are still Oracle, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter. Like if you're a mid-size versus Tesco's might be using like a old Oracle ERP system that they bought 20 years ago.
yeah,
What are your options? Your options as like a mid-sized retailer is to buy the same system and pay $100,000 a year.
right.
And when you talk to the people that use these systems and interface to them, you'll routinely hear like, "Do you enjoy using that? Do you really like? Do you?"
If they can even afford it.
If they can even afford it in the first
right?
place.
So you're helping these businesses be more profitable, small support business thrive. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I hope so.
Beyond like the fact that there's a lot of money transacting and you can get in the middle of that, actually there's so many small businesses that, it's tough. You've dropped out of school.
Yes, I have.
You will not do your leaving cert as planned.
No.
I'm just curious for you,
Yep.
like, how do you feel about that?
Originally, I was really worried.
Yeah.
As much as I talked about not liking school earlier, it was still important for me. I feel like I'm quite a social person. I've always enjoyed that. Like, I wouldn't have had a conversation with that kid on the bus every day if my school was bad. But I kind of quickly realized, like, I was pretty worried about it. I was like, what's going to happen to my social life? Like, what's going to happen to my, like, actual 17-year-old life that I have?
There's stuff you'll lose, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, there'd be stuff that you'd lose. And then as soon as I left school, completely went out the window. I didn't have any regrets.
Really?
That was just me personally.
Yeah.
I kind of knew that I wanted to like build something.
Yeah.
And I was kind of yearning and like desperate for that. So leaving school actually it wasn't like a quick little decision. It took like a few months of thinking. And then, dropped out, went on a family holiday, and like the rest is history.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'll look back with it on regret. But I definitely see the value, and like my friends were very much enjoying school.
Yeah.
I just personally wasn't.
Yeah,
in the way that I want to.
different pathways.
Yeah, of course.
Let me ask you something, because you kind of grew up in this AI world that we're now living in, right? And when you think about school, and you think about the leaving cert, and you think about AI tools, like, how do you think about the value of school? Or do you think that's kind of a conversation young people are having more and more, which is like, you have to like regurgitate a lot of information, whereas you could just look it up over here. And I'm just curious what your take on the future of school should be, or...
I think everyone should ask the question to themselves, like it's so clear that like the transformer model architecture, ChatGPT is such a fundamental shift in technology. The equivalent of like, you had the internet, then you had like a way that people could interface the internet, which is like the .com era of like search engines, personal computers being widespread and quite cheap. And then you had like this like 10 to 15 years of like arguably little technology change, right? You had Facebook, you had social media, you had the blockchain, but there wasn't anything that was like a fundamental shift.
Yeah.
Right? So you've gone from like...
And like the iPhone's 20 years old, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
It's a big gap. Like and that's changed now.
Yeah.
Changed a couple of years ago when ChatGPT released, and it's like going from paper to a computer to software, which makes the paper kind of irrelevant, is like maybe a 100x increase on productivity.
Yeah.
But if you go from paper to not having to ever do that work again, I would say it's at least a 10,000 or a million X difference, right? You're actually removing that work from existence. I think that's starting to happen. It's starting to happen with a lot of startups. So there's like a long-winded way of answering your question is that I think it's worth asking the question that, assuming that AI can do a lot of the tasks that you're learning in school, assuming that AI will have a massive impact on the economy, maybe it's worth thinking like, what's your path in life?
What's your path?
And maybe a school.
Just even questioning it. And for some people, it'll be the right path. And for other people, maybe not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You've taken the other path.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's finish up with a quick fire round.
Sure.
Okay, favorite startup?
Lovable.
Favorite tech founder?
Got to be Elon.
Got to be
For
Elon.
other reasons, he's great.
What reasons are that?
I mean, he's made like he's decided to build like the most two difficult companies you could possibly build.
Yeah.
And become the richest man doing it. So I think it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's inventing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A founder you admire that maybe no one's ever heard of before?
Sam McKay from Induct.
Yeah.
Met him not during my Patch cohort, but met him through the Patch kind of alumni network. Become very good friends with Sam, and he's similar to me in a lot of different ways,
Yeah.
and a lot of similar ways, and I really like him.
What are they working on?
They're building access control. So like the
Wow.
most obscure possible startup you could think of, and they're going, okay, like they're going at it and looking in like a traditional industry, which I'm kind of looking at as well, is why do buildings not know what's going on in the building? Why do you not know who's going in and when, and why, and that information is valuable, and why don't businesses have access to that?
Yeah.
So that's their fun. They make doors open and close and through the access control system.
So the pattern here is young builders are picking the most boring stuff, procurement, access control, because
maybe it's just me and Sam.
maybe it's just you.
I don't know.
Something you realized in your last startup that you've carried into your new startup?
Yeah. Making the right foundations. So like being very careful about, what kind of fundamental things you do in the business at the very beginning will have a massive impact later on. So whether it be like picking the right co-founder or choosing a different distribution method, the foundations are really important.
Yeah. Hardest part of being a 70-year-old founder?
Probably the age, I would say. It's pretty difficult.
And is there in particular challenges like when you were raising money or?
I think selling. Sales. That's
Jumping
difficult.
on
I'm selling to like 50-year-olds, which is great. It's really great to learn from. So it's quite difficult. Sometimes that can be difficult, and sometimes dealing with hires, like hiring people. Also, I'm gonna eventually have to fire people.
Yeah.
So I need to like put on my big boy pants and go. Like I'm gone straight from like being in secondary school, to having to run a business and hire people. So it's a big learning curve, and I think age can sometimes be difficult, but it's not something you can't overcome. It's just you have to fill out as a person a little bit more.
Do you find that some of your potential customers take you less seriously because you're 17, or?
None of my customers.
I'm sure you don't broadcast them.
None of my customers, because my product's really good.
Well, there you go. Products.
That's why.
What is technology or technologies that you're most excited about in general right now?
Computer use agents.
Yeah.
So AI that can control your computer. I think that is going to fundamentally kill. So with the combination of Lovable, like a AI SaaS generation tool, software generation tool, and computer browser agents, I think traditional software will become obsolete.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm thinking about in traditional business about, how are these businesses going to interface with the thousands of different systems they currently use? And when you can build those systems in a few prompts, what's going to change there? I think a lot will change, and I think the way that you'll be able to interact with the internet and the way computers will be able to interact with the internet exactly like a human would be, will like completely change the economy. So I think it's like I think computer use agents are just as big of a moment as ChatGPT was about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about that. It's something I'm definitely keeping an eye on. It's probably my favorite.
And I'm guessing some of that's going to feature in how your product works.
100%.
Final question. Your advice for any young builders out there?
Don't be afraid to get out there and just start doing stuff. There's really talented young people, way more than you think. And just get out there and start building.
I think you're an amazing example of that. And also it's been nice to see how the world has opened up to you. It's not like you had yes. You actually got a lot more no's than you got yeses, but you just kept going.
Yeah.
And you're in this really exciting new phase, and I'm really excited to see what happens next. So thanks, Liam, for coming in, having a chat, and good luck with this next phase.
Great.